What's up, fam? We getting out the house today, but while we out here, I'm going to talk about the MPC Live. We're going to talk about Standalone. We're going to talk about controller mode, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff for people that's brand new to the MPC. And I'm going to try to answer some of the questions that people been asking. For the OGs, y'all already know what the business is. You can help people out in the comments if that arises. You know what it is. Follow me. Alright, so we about to go find us a little kind of secluded spot to chill at. It ain't feeling too bad out here. It's a little windy, so if the audio sound kind of bad, my apologies in advance, but hopefully it's not too much trouble. Now for this video, I'm not using any audio equipment, no microphone, nothing like that. So hopefully everything turns out well, but it does have a purpose. I do got my travel bag. Talked about this in the video before. Yeah, I'm still using it. Still in the same shape it was when I got it. Excellent condition. Now I brought y'all out here to talk about the MPC. Now what is the MPC? For starters, it's a standalone beat making powerhouse, but it's definitely not perfect. And actually, in my opinion, there is no perfect beat making device. And that goes for everything from the MPC to the Machine Plus or any DAW that you're working with, whether it's FL Studio, Ableton, Pro Tools, Cubase, or even Reaper. They all have their flaws. It's all about your desired workflow and what you want to be able to do inside your system of choice. Now the MPC has two standard functions. That is controller mode and standalone. And the MPC does work in standalone without anything connected whatsoever. No power, no computer, no nothing. Completely untethered. Now right now I have an MPC project loaded up that was created completely in standalone. Again, there is no wires attached. It's not tethered to anything. I don't have any headphones. I'm not using any type of lavalier microphones. It's just me and the MPC. Now, as you can see, the MPC Live doesn't need anything else. It doesn't need a battery bank. It doesn't need an external speaker. And for those of you who say, well, I don't like the speaker, I don't want the speaker, I want to be able to make beats in peace without disturbing anybody else, there's a button on the back of the Live right here where you can turn the speaker off. And then from there, all you have to do is plug in headphones into the headphone jack, and you can create beats in peace without disturbing anybody. So you can use it without anybody hearing the speaker. For instance, I'm going to play it. And just to show you, I don't know how good you can see that, but the MPC is playing right now, but you don't hear anything until I turn the speaker back on. One of the many reasons why this is the ultimate standalone device. You don't have to go out and buy any extra peripherals or anything like that. A lot of the other devices that are out there that are standalone, in order to do something like what I'm doing right now, in the middle of the park, in the middle of the day, not near any type of power outlet, they simply can't do all of this. Now, what is the difference between standalone, which is what we're doing right now, and controller mode? And why would you want to use controller mode? The MPC is again a powerhouse standalone device. If you're somebody coming from MPC beats, or you simply need more power for your MPC, the MPC is the best controller that you can possibly find for the MPC software. I happen to have multiple MPCs. I have the MPC Live. I also have the MPC 1 and the MPC X. When I'm using the MPC Live 2, almost always in standalone. I'm never using the MPC Live 2 in controller mode. But on the flip side, using the MPC X, it is 100% always in controller mode. Why would I choose controller mode over standalone? There's a few reasons for me. Now, this may be different for a lot of people, but for me, when you're using the MPC in standalone, you do have a track limit. Not only is there a track limit, there is also a 2 GB limit on the RAM that's available. It is very possible to run the RAM out on the MPC in Standalone. I've done it several times. And in that case, you will have to put the MPC in controller mode in order to finish that project. Unless you take the time to bounce out all the tracks and then delete the tracks that's causing problems, which is going to kind of slow down your workflow. Now, is controller mode better than Standalone? It depends on how you want to work. If you don't want to be around a computer, you don't want to be connected to a computer, then Standalone is much better than controller mode. If you don't mind a computer and you may need extra power, then controller mode is the best thing that you can ever use. I will say this. One thing that confuses me a lot is a lot of people say that they can't stand computers. That's why they want an MPC so they can use it in Standalone and be away from the computer. But the actuality of it is if you're using any of the current MPCs, they are actually computers. They're just highly specialized towards beat making. But it has the same internals. It has a computer processor, it has computer RAM, it has computer storage. Now, this particular MPC, it does have a 2 TB internal hard drive installed into the MPC, and I highly recommend getting an internal SSD for your MPC if you can afford it. You can get a decent sized SSD for your MPC for somewhere around $100 that will last a very, very long time. Now, if you don't want to get a SSD and install it inside your MPC, or you're scared to take the MPC apart, and it's actually a very simple process, just a few screws to take off, connect it, and then apply the screws back on. But if you don't want to do that, then I highly recommend getting some type of SD card. The MPC does come with 10 GB of internal storage, but you will find that during your beat making process, you will eat that up very, very quickly. And to be honest, I don't recommend using it at all. You're probably better off getting an SD card straight out the gate if you can't get a SSD. Now, when it comes to me, I tend to use the internal SSD and the SD card because sometimes it's a lot more convenient to transfer files with an SD card versus connecting it to a computer to pull information out. Depending on what you're doing. You may be in a location where you don't have access to a computer. You can just pop an SD card in, save it to the SD card, pop that SD card out, and transfer it that way. How do you connect the MPC to a computer and use it in controller mode? I'll show you right now. Right here, I have my 2016 MacBook Pro. This MacBook only has USB-C ports. The MPC has a connector cable that is USB-A, so it is not compatible with USB-C. In order to get around that on this MacBook Pro, I do have a hyperdrive adapter. It has 2 USB-A slots, a SD card reader, and also 2 USB-C slots. So let me connect that to the MacBook. Now that we got that connected to the MacBook, I can connect the MPC. Before we connect the MPC to the MacBook Pro, I just want to show you that the MacBook Pro is also untethered. It is not connected to any power source, but what I can do is open up the MPC software on the MacBook Pro. Now I'm going to open up the same project that I opened up on the MPC. As of now, the MPC is not connected to the MacBook. So now that I have the project open, I can now play that project on my MacBook Pro. And this is playing through the internal speakers of the MacBook. It's not very loud, but if you're someone who uses MPC beats, you don't need anything else. You can just use your computer to make a full production using the MPC software. Now, in order to connect the MPC to the MacBook, we're going to take our blue USB connector cable. We're going to plug it into the back of the MPC. Now we're connected, and we're going to take this other end and connect it to the USB-A port on the MacBook adapter. Now that we've made the connection, we're going to go to our MPC. We're going to go to the menu. At the very top, you'll see it says MPC, and it looks like a computer chip. You're going to tap that icon, and then you're going to say switch to controller mode. You can save the project if you haven't. I know this project is already saved, so I'm going to hit don't save. and I'm going to switch it to controller mode. Now, as I switch it to controller mode, once it transfers to controller mode, the MPC hard drive will appear on the computer as it just did. Once the MPC is connected, I have access to everything on the computer and everything on the MPC simultaneously. That's one of the benefits of controller mode. So you can use the MPC and be able to connect to anything on the computer and utilize that software, whether it's an external plugin, third-party plugins, any sound files that you might have on the computer, or anything else like that, and vice versa. So your computer has access to everything that you have already saved on your MPC, whether it's expansion packs, samples, sounds, you name it. Not only does the computer and the MPC both have access to everything that's stored on each device, you can now use the MPC to control 100% of everything except third-party plugins on the MPC without touching the computer whatsoever. Now that we have that done, I'm going to show you something that a lot of people have been asking about and they're a bit confused about. You heard that the sound is still coming from the computer's direct speakers, but I push play on the MPC. The MPC is a great standalone device, we know that. But the MPC does also double as a great audio interface when it's connected to the computer in controller mode. So let's go on the computer and we'll select the MPC as the audio interface that we want to use. And you can't see this on the screen. I'm going to talk you through what I'm doing. We're going to go to the MPC menu. We're going to go to preferences. Inside preferences, we're going to go to audio device. And right now it has built-in output selected. We're going to change that. So now the output is MPC Live 2 and the input is going to be MPC Live 2. Boom. So now from here on out, the computer is using the MPC Live 2 as the audio interface. So now when I press play, all of the sounds and everything will be routed through the MPC Live. So now you're hearing audio from the MPC Live 2 speaker. Now, you can literally do everything from directly inside the MPC, except for opening, manipulating third-party plugins. But if you are a person who has a lot of third-party plugins, almost all of them will be available as long as you're in controller mode, except VST3, which may be coming sometime in the future. Now, another thing that I've been asked about a lot is, can you record audio in the MPC? And the answer is yes, you can, in both controller mode and standalone, and it's the exact same process. So right now, I'm using the MPC in controller mode. Now I do have this microphone here. This microphone is actually a cheap $20 microphone that came from Walmart. Not a very good microphone, but if you needed something like this, you can use it in a pinch. You can get better quality microphones like the Shure 58 that will work the very same way. You'll just have to get an XLR cable with a 1/4" jack on the end like this one. So I'm going to plug this up to input 1 on the back of the MPC. Now that I have this microphone plugged up to input 1 on the MPC, I'm going to go to the audio tab on the MPC. For the input, I'm going to select input 1. Now that I have input 1 selected, I'm going to set the monitor to in. After I turn the microphone on, I can talk into the microphone and you hear my voice coming out of the MPC speaker. I can also put on headphones and then turn the speaker off. If I'm in an isolated area that's better soundproof than this, then I could record my vocals into the MPC and get a good quality vocal in a controlled environment. Right now, we're out in the park. It's a little windy, but just to show you that it does work, this is all you really need in order to record your vocals into the MPC. Again, I have nothing connected to this computer but the blue audio cable and the microphone. Now, you can also use condenser microphones or microphones that have phantom power, but you will need another device in order to make those work. But for any dynamic microphone, this is all you need. And there are some very good quality dynamic microphones that are on the market. Now, I hope I was able to answer some of your questions. If you have more, leave them in the comments. I may make another video to answer it, or I'll reply to you directly in the comment section to try to get everything straightened out. I know I kind of been missing in action a little bit, but there's a reason for that, and I will be back soon. That being said, we almost to 5,000 subscribers. I appreciate all of the love and support, so let's jam out before we go.